If I could share a little background on how this video came about. So, as Ricky and I try to raise a family of our own, and we see the challenges involved, the question popped up, how did they do it after the war? Putting aside raising a family, making a parnasa, how did they have a head to stay from and prioritize Yiddishkeit when basic needs were difficult enough to come by? How is it that religion wasn't the last thing on their list? So, in order to answer these questions, we went back to the beginning and asked Babi about Frum life back in Germany, Frum life in England, how is it similar, how is it different, and from there we discussed Frum life during their early days in the US, and how exactly they held on to their Yiddishkeit and lifted themselves from the ashes. Enjoy the video.
They staggered to freedom, more dead than alive, flesh barely hiding, the bones underneath. Broken and battered, their eyes told the tale of shattered souls, anguish and grief. But then they started selling sugar cubes or anything they could find, making trades, taking chances at unproven skills. Each penny slowly earned, invested and saved, their form of revenge to rebuild.
They rose from the ashes and relit their matches to kindle a fire that somehow grew stronger. They suffered in silence, yet lived in defiance, never forgetting their mothers and fathers.
My mother made sure that I would go to a Frum hospital.
For us, with all that was theirs, vanished and gone, where did they find the will to go on?
So like I said, Ricky and I were discussing, this day and age is obviously very different, and we're talking about, raising our kids and the challenges of from life, but it's a whole different story as when you're traveling from Germany to England to America, and there's a lot of challenges to raising a family in general, and on top of that, to be able to stay from and raise a Torah observant family is challenging. But I guess starting from the beginning, just rewinding back to the beginning first.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the first question I would ask would be, so back in Germany, how much do you remember of the regular Frum life in Munich, like a regular Shabbos, let's say?
Went to school every Shabbos.
Oh, really? How big? How big was the school?
Nice size. It was a Polish school.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a Yaki school.
Okay. Even though it was Germany?
Hmm?
Even though it was Germany,
yeah,
it was still a regular Polish
school.
Okay.
Yeah, in Munich, the Yakis looked down upon the Polish.
Polish, really?
And so we had our own school. And I remember I had a friend who happened to be Yakish, and she invited me for Shabbos.
Yeah.
I asked my mother, and she said, no, you better not go, because if you go to that shul, they're going to look down on you.
Wow.
So that was a little girl.
That was a little girl. At the time you were in Munich, you were...
I was little. I was, what was I, 7, 8,
Right.
But, that's,
And shul, how do you compare, davening, the shul there in Munich to, our typical shul davening there? Is similar?
No, they had a choir.
The chazan was one of these, super intense,
I don't remember the chazan, but I know they had a choir. My brother was in the choir.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, he had a
voice?
He had a very good voice.
Which these days we're so hyper aware of, wondering those things things like mechitza, imchitzas and heidat mchitzas and
no,
separations.
It was upstairs and downstairs.
Oh, it's upstairs and downstairs, okay.
I even went there when I went back to Munich.
The shul still It was still
Esther
there?
and I went to Shul on Shabbos.
It was still,
And same
still an active shul?
Same Shul.
Wow.
Now they built a different one.
Uh-huh. But
But when we went, it was the same Shul. Esther said we sat on the same place.
Seats? Wow. Do you remember the name of the shul?
Hmm?
What was the name?
Bastard.
Whoa. Uh-huh. Wow. And like, would they, in those types of shuls, would they have, did they have like, a kiddush after davening like we did, or anything like that? No, it wasn't the type.
Only if it was bar mitzvah.
A bar mitzvah. And like, what, and it's like, and a typical yomtiv back then, did they, did you like say sukkah space, did you have, everyone have their own sukkahs? Or did everyone, there's a communal sukkah?
Don't remember sukkah so much. I don't know.
No?
In Shul, I think.
Yeah, maybe it's good.
Yeah,
For
we
the time.
certainly didn't have our own.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if people had their own. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I like matzahs. Is it matzahs type of thing that you like? They make locally in one town, or is it also like similar to now? They have like these like mass operations for I would get matzahs of Pesach. Let's say
Matzah and Pesach came from the States.
really from the United States.
Yeah.
Really? There's no
Yeah.
local German matzah bakery?
I remember that the matzah we had was from the States.
Very interesting, really.
Remember.
Even back then.
They were
That
were
was
round.
the round
matzahs.
came from the States. And things like school. So I remember when I was watching videos, so I saw that you had a regular school that you went to, and then on Kristallnacht that was destroyed
because it was right near the shul, the Yaki shul.
Right. What was like the school? So those from schools were they similar to now? They have from they have like Jew studies in the morning, and then the secular studies in the afternoon, or is it a different type of format?
Don't remember, but I know we had Jewish studies.
Yeah, we had both.
Secular studies.
Uh-huh.
Two teachers kissing her, which were uncles of this Kissinger. One year.
Of who?
You know Kissinger?
Kissinger.
He was
the Secretary of State.
Secretary of State.
Yes. He was Jewish?
Yes.
I didn't knew that.
His parents were from. He was from a Frum household.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
His parents were from, and these were uncles. These were his uncles.
These were his uncles.
Who were the teachers?
Two of them. And they both,
They both did.
and it's funny, we called, one was kind of slim, and the other one was fat.
Uh-huh.
So we called them the Dicke and the Dünne Kissinger.
Oh boy. And that way it translates to?
That's how they went by, the Dicke and the Dünne Kissinger.
What does that translate to?
Huh?
What does that translate to?
The slim and the fat.
Okay, so that works. That's funny. And like the curricula and the curriculum for the Torah, like do you remember what they taught? It was like Chumash or Kriya or
Don't really remember. All I know is that my mother sent me to Talmud Torah after school.
I mean, besides that,
She sent me to Talmud Torah, where we had a Rabbi. Not that many children, at least I was with the little ones, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned mostly Kriya.
Mm-hmm.
And what he had us do, like, set of the week, we would read one sentence. We were sitting at a long table, and we'd go around,
Yeah.
And I used to count.
Yeah.
Which sentence I would get.
Oh, so you'd be able to see ahead of time.
Let's say this one started, so I would count one.
So you're able to practice.
So I could doze off or whatever, and then as long as it came to my sentence, I knew it.
That's funny. So if your mother sent you to like these Kriya, later in the day, so like would they teach earlier? Like in the main school, was that?
Yeah, I don't know what. If she wasn't satisfied with it, or she just wanted to come home later, I don't know.
Interesting, huh? I wonder, did you have any idea? It's hard because at that age, it's hard to know whether your family was, quote unquote, like more Frum than some other families. Like that, it was even a concept in those days.
The Polish heaven that we,
you were part of.
Well,
right,
sort of on the same level.
It's the same level.
Yeah.
And the Yekkis, do you think the Yekkis were
maybe
like more or less?
The Yekkis were more strict. I don't know.
You don't know. So if you were from the Polish, like, a chevra, so then how do you end up with the 3 hour waiting time?
Because we still had German then. We lived in
Germany. Yeah, German. That works. And then, did you ever have any sort of interaction with, like, the non-Jewish, like, kids in the area? Or is it totally, like, secluded?
I just remember playing with Jewish kids. Maybe. I don't remember.
Right. So then, obviously, the next step, I guess, anyone on the kinder transport, you were 8 years old, right? When you went 9 years
just
old.
9.
Okay. To England, and then if I remember correctly, there you were able to join a school there, right?
A hostel.
The hostel, and they sent you to...
Well, my mother made sure that I would go to a Frum hostel.
Right.
Because a lot of children that were then ended up with non-Jewish families.
Right.
A lot of them. My friend did.
Wow. And did she keep it? Did she have any remnant of anything afterwards?
Yeah, because her parents managed to escape and come pregnant.
Wow. But I guess they made sure that you got to a Frum hostel, and then...
Yeah, so like I say, my mother was clever enough to say that if she sends me, only of the condition that
Right. And that Frum hostel, was there like a built-in school?
No.
In there?
No, we went to public school.
The public school, really?
Yeah.
So was your, like, Frum education kind of like end over there?
Talmud Torah, every day.
Similar?
Talmud Torah.
And what did that...
After school.
And what did that consist of, the Talmud Torah in England?
Trying to think. Actually, we learned quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember what?
And I and Hilda's sister, Susie, and a boy, Bernard Penn.
Yeah.
We were like, after a while, we became too knowledgeable for the class.
Really?
So the headmaster, he was called, sent us upstairs to a little attic, and he would give us a week's work.
Just to do?
Which had to do with the Seder. I don't remember exactly what.
And
he would come up every now and then, surprise us, but we heard him on the steps, and test us, and but we used to play a lot. We used to play table cricket.
How do you play table cricket?
Huh?
How do you play table cricket?
I don't know, with a pencil and an eraser.
Funny.
But we learned.
You did learn something.
Yeah, we did.
But how were you expected to learn by yourself?
Well, he gave us the lesson, for the week.
Like some sort of sheet or something?
Whatever, I forgot exactly. But,
You had to teach it to yourself?
No, he taught us, but he was mostly busy with the class,
Right.
so.
Right. That was like, those was like Parsha or Kriya again?
Wasn't Kriya, no.
Kriya.
By that time we had graduates.
Right.
Yeah. It was Parsha.
Yeah. I guess so. Did they ever mix in any sort of hashkafa or thought?
No.
None of that.
No.
None of that. That was all, I guess, more by osmosis, I guess, than anything else. Interesting. And then also...
And again, we went to Shuls every Shabbos. There were 20 7 of us at the beginning.
Yeah.
And we used to go like in a crocodile.
Like in a
like
line?
2 and 2 and 2.
In a line to the shul?
In a line, yeah.
Uh-huh. That was how they ordered you to go?
Yes.
Interesting. And it was also, how big was that shul there?
Huh?
How big was that shul in
It was big, it was, yeah. It was a nice Jewish community there.
Uh-huh. Right. Also a similar style, also from shul, I guess. From shul.
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There were 2 shuls there. One was like, what should I say? A British, I don't know what they called it, had a chief rabbi of England and this one. And the other one was a more Hasidish shul, and a rabbi.
Rebbe.
So we used to alternate 1 week here and 1 week there.
Were you given a choice? Like, were you able to choose? The girls able to choose, or they chose? Or they?
No, we all went.
You all went together.
1 week here and 1 week there.
That's cool. Interesting. The shul was like a similar experience to what you were used to back in Germany, or is it very different? Like their style of davening? No, it's different. Mm-hmm. And then and Shabbos meals you had back in the hostel.
Mm-hmm.
The Shabbos meal.
All the meals.
All the meals you had back in the house. Like
meals.
Who ran those Shabbos like sudas? Was there anyone who made kiddush and challah and things like that?
Not a man.
Not a man. There's no.
No. The only time we had a man come was for the Sedarim.
Did the matzahs come from the States also for that? Did the matzahs come from the States over there also?
That I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Because it had nothing to do with it.
Right, you weren't involved, I guess. That's true. But your typical Shabbos Suda was just the girls and the women, and I guess someone made kiddush, I guess. Did one of the girls make kiddush?
The matron was a matron, in charge.
Right. I hear that. Oh, I forgot to ask. I forgot to ask. Back at home in Germany, like your Shabbos Sudas you had mostly at home, or did you ever go out to eat Shabbos meals?
Never.
Always at home.
Yeah.
And like ever have guests? Was that a thing then?
No.
Guests over?
No.
And who ran? I guess once your father passed away, who ran the Shabbos meals at home?
My grandmother.
Really?
My mother.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And, like, did you have like typical Zemiras back then, or different ones, or any ones? Did you have your Shabbos Zemiras or things like that?
Yeah.
You did have?
My brother sang. My sister had a good voice.
Different, I guess I imagine. Different tunes than we have nowadays, I guess. That's something.
I don't really remember that too well.
Did you do any sort of Zemiras in the hostel?
Yeah, we did sing.
Something.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right. And in the public school in England, obviously there you were with Jewish kids and non-Jewish kids, I guess, right?
Oh yeah.
And what was that? What was that like? How did they treat you over there? They were okay.
Yeah.
Were they aware of your whole story of like how you ended up in England and what was going on?
Some weren't.
Interesting. And then I think you mentioned that, right? After the war was over, right? So then your brother and sister wanted you to join their like Zionist, like one of these Zionist
Mizrachi.
That they kind of like train you in to kind of like move to Israel eventually.
They wanted me to, yeah. But first, after the war, I still was in school.
Right. We went to high school.
And the hostel, there were only 7 girls left. So, and they needed the building for boys coming from Europe. So we were sent to Gateshead. and lived with different families.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I finished school there.
That was a public school type of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
There was no... The boys' boarding school just opened at that time. And then a year or so later, the seminary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But no school.
Uh-huh. Interesting. This Mizrachi movement that they tried to that from what I remember from your conversation, that was something that you were less into than.
Well, really, truly, after I finished school, I had nothing to do.
Right.
What was I going to do?
Right.
So I went to this. It was called Noah Hashara.
Okay.
Hashara was like a sort of a kibbutz.
Right.
To prepare you.
Kibbutz in England?
Yeah.
That's some similar style.
Yeah,
Okay.
like,
Got practice.
And Noah was for the young ones, and we learned half a day, and we worked half a day, meaning it was a farm.
Ah, a farm in England?
A farm, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So we had different jobs, and every 2 months, 3 months, whatever, you change jobs, but in the morning, you always learn.
It was right. So it's like a Frum...
Yeah.
It was a Frum system. Because a
yeah.
lot of the kibbutzes in Israel back... Because a lot of the kibbutzes in Israel back, in the early days were not.
No.
Or if anything, were opposite. Were like anti.
But from this, Hashara, Lavi
came around, which was from kibbutz.
Was people from that
program.
Hashara, yeah.
Do you know how that happened? That Hashara and kibbutz Lavi, that somehow managed to be from when so many kibbutzes then were like super Zionistic and like not. Like,
some of the
Lavi,
but Mizrachi was
a from movement, and they I guess it was made up of people who came from those backgrounds, and they wanted to keep that. They somehow. It's funny because you think of the kibbutz movement back then, where there's so many that were not only not from, they were like almost like anti. I think, right? A lot of kibbutzes they want to have nothing to do with it.
The very early ones. But the ones after the war, there were quite a few from ones. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then after that, I went for I think it was 6 months. 3 months or 6 months, I'm not sure, 6 months, I think, to something called Merkaz Libud.
What's that?
Where I just studied Hebrew subjects. Again, from Mizrachi.
Like Hebrew subjects, like what?
Tanakh.
Oh, yeah.
Ivrit.
The word Hebrew. Do you know Hebrew before that? Like, were you able to...
I used to, yeah, but I forgot it all. Right. I mean, I can still understand some.
Right, but you're like at what point did you learn Hebrew? Something you didn't know Hebrew from back in Germany, right? You didn't know Hebrew then, did you?
Hebrew,
biblical.
What's it called? Tanakh Hebrew,
Like
but there in the Merkaz Limud, we learned Ivrit.
So that was where you learned your Vrit that you know. I was from there.
I forgot. I didn't use it.
This is better than me, probably. That's where you learned your Vrit. Interesting. And
that's how I knew all those people in Lavi. Because they were all friends, basically, of my sister brother.
Right. And your brother went on to actually start kibbutz. He was one of the ones who started kibbutz Lavi, right?
No.
No, he wasn't.
No, he was the head of the movement in England, and they were going to settle in Lavi when that happened.
I see. And Esther never made it to...
She was a Lavi.
She was a Lavi?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew that. How long was she in Lavi for?
Not for too long, the very beginning, when it wasn't up there yet, it was down below, and terrible conditions, mud, they were calling the land.
They were still making the land.
Right.
Right. Right. And then that was before or after she was married. That was before or after she was married. She was
yeah. Before she came to the States, yeah.
And she met her husband after she got to the States?
After she got to the States, yeah.
Interesting. And then also, so you mentioned that when you did come to the States, right? So you had kind of a choice between two uncles, right? Your uncle was in Newark, and uncle was
in Newark and one in New York.
And in New York, and the one in Newark was
not
Frum. So like, how did you manage to navigate all that?
When I first came, I stayed with them in Newark.
Right.
And managed.
Yeah.
Managed. For Shabbos, I used to go to it was I didn't know the person. She was an elderly woman who lived alone, but she had was it a niece? Yeah, it was a niece. My age.
Yeah.
So I used to eat there for Shabbos, Friday night and Shabbos.
Interesting.
You know.
And was your aunt and uncle like okay? Were they on board with that? Were they okay with you going there?
Yeah.
They were.
Actually, I think they found her for me.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Was there from Shuls there to go to?
In Newark?
Newark.
Trying to think what school was it? Oh yeah, there were a lot of from Shuls.
Already back then.
Newark was a big community.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, you eventually moved there, right? But so there was and do you remember if you went to Shuls in Newark then when you were there, when you were staying by your uncle?
Probably. Don't remember too well. I didn't stay there too long. I moved to Washington Heights.
Right. But you stayed you boarded by...
I boarded somebody, yeah.
Right, family.
Yeah. You know Ellen Strauss from here?
Yeah.
Ellen Strauss' mother was married to where I lived with the Katz's, Mrs. Katz's brother.
Interesting.
So,
how would you find them?
I don't know.
No. Interesting. There's no online postings.
Maybe Eugene found them for me. I don't know.
I guess that could be right. He was living in the Heights, in the Washington Heights already by then, or was he living in Washington Heights?
They were living, sort of. It was not quite the Heights. Mm-hmm. It was like just before the Heights.
Got it. But that general.
That's
Right.
No.
And then at some point, while you were there, you met a Zeidy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, and at some point while you were there was when you
met Zeidy. Yeah.
And like, what was the dating process like then?
Hmm?
What was the dating process like then?
Blind dates.
Someone
like,
said you.
If a friend knew of somebody.
Yeah, and they said
they would arrange it.
Yeah. Did you have a car to take you?
Hmm?
Did you have a car to take you?
Car?
No car. So what happened? He picked you up from the house and then
with a subway.
Into subway, and like, where did you what was a typical date like?
Went out to eat.
But through a really
there was always Shabbos night. There was what's it called? Farm food. Farm food was a milkshake place.
Yeah.
And it was known for dates, you know. And I don't remember actually where
we went on dates. Do you remember if you did like activities? Did you do like any?
Must have. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And
like, I guess I mean, like, do you remember like do you remember if you like ever like did you ever like discuss like the whole like topic of like, you know, did you ever get into like this more like serious like did he tell you his story of how he got to America, of his whole story throughout the war in America while you were dating?
He had 2 aunts living on the east side.
Yeah,
we used to visit them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now this is where one of the things that I'm really wondering about. Like, did you ever discuss the idea of raising raising was it given that you raising a Frum Orthodox family, or is that something that you discussed in those days? It was
yeah. I mean, he came from a religious home.
Religious home. But even throughout the war, obviously things were obviously in chaos and not running. So was that still something which was super obvious? Of course, we'll be raising from family.
Yeah,
it was given
because when he came to England, first he went to England,
Right. I think
So the boys were asked. There was this hostel in Gateshead, yeah?
Right.
And they were asked, do you want to come to a Frum place?
Mm-hmm.
And those, no.
Some said yes, and some didn't,
right.
Basically?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea,
and even some that did want to come in the end didn't remain religious,
They didn't, right. Right. That's what I find. I guess after all those travels and all the chaos and everything, was that I guess that was obviously you wanted to be able to raise a family and and also have the parnassa to be able to do that. But I guess the idea of raising a Frum family that was still that.
Yeah, I mean we were only mixing with from people.
Mm-hmm. So it was never it was never even a question.
No.
Oh, interesting. To the point that, you said, on dates, let's say.
Even when I stayed with my aunt and uncle in Newark,
It was never. It was never. I guess throughout all the years, it was still kind of always it was. That's the word I'm looking for. It was it's embedded throughout each step of the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's partially because your mother made sure. I guess your mother made sure that you ended up in a Frum place.
So.
That was a big part of it.
Yeah.
And
it was very, very clever of her.
Right. Because definitely, but plenty of people went. Throughout all the chaos, did not end up.
A lot of them ended up with non-Jews, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I hear that. And throughout the years that Zeidy went through camps, then I guess he came out of the camps that came to England. So he said he chose to go to the Frum hostel. Yeah, did he ever tell you about his thought process there, or was it also an obvious thing for him too?
I think it was obvious to him. From the home that he came from.
Right. It was very from home. Right.
And then when we got married and he started the business, he had a partner who was not from. And he tried pulling him the other way, but it didn't work.
Wow. So do you know how he managed to weather that? It's not. I mean,
I think because he was married. If he wouldn't have been married, he may have been more.
Did he was there ever a time that you had to you had to say something to that he was on the line? You had to kind of pull him back a little bit.
Mm-hmm. No. Not really.
Things like keeping the business open on Shabbos, was that ever? Things like keeping the business open on Shabbos, was that ever something that he had to win?
He had to fight with the guy, and I remember the guy did go in and sold coats and pocketed the money.
Really? And this was a Jewish person.
He was Jewish
person,
yeah.
But he, what did Zeidy do?
He was also from the camp,
right?
But he
I guess,
probably also from home.
So, I guess he somehow just didn't didn't see things the same way. So that's the hardest thing. It's impossible to imagine.
And he stole from him. He actually stole from him because he wasn't Shomer Shabbos.
Mm-hmm. So who stole from who? His partner?
The partner.
Really? Oh, what did he steal?
He used to go in on Shabbos.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And he sold stuff. Like, did that go on for a while, or did Zeidy manage to put a stop to that?
Zeidy wasn't aware of it. I was.
Really? How?
Somehow I always had these, what should I say? I don't know what
intuition of sorts?
Intuition, you know.
Uh-huh. And did you tell Zeidy what you thought?
Yeah, but he didn't believe me at the beginning, you know.
And eventually
realized that, yeah.
Wow. And did they eventually at some point break?
They broke up, yeah.
Uh-huh. And Zeidy did he have his own, did he like leave the business entirely then, or he had his
own? Then he got a Frum partner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And the other partner went, where did the other partner go?
I don't know what he did, actually.
Right. When Zeidy, this is a little sidetrack. When Zeidy did start that business, like what did he have any knowledge or skills in that area of making of tailoring or making clothes?
Yes, he learned tailoring in England.
Oh, really? After the war?
Yeah.
Where did he? Who taught him that?
A Shomer Shabbos guy.
Oh, really?
Who had a business, you know, tailoring.
Interesting. He told like a bunch of boys, or like somehow Zeidy ended up being the one?
Him, Tabatnik, I think 3 boys.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So he got the knowledge.
Yeah.
From that vote.
Yeah.
Enough to start a business.
Yeah.
And do you have
they used to make suits, custom-made suits.
Interesting. Wow. So people come in, you measure them, and so suits. That was back in England. You're saying they made suits in England.
In England.
Yeah. Then he decided when he came to America to do coats.
Yeah.
Focus on coats. You know how he found that niche, the coats niche.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how he found that coats niche specifically?
They started a business with nothing.
Yeah, with what money? Yeah, come to think of it, what money did they start this business with?
Nothing.
Like, where did you kind of buy your first threads somewhere? I guess
he didn't make money at the beginning.
Uh-huh.
I went to work, and I think I earned like $50 or $55 a week.
What, $55 a week?
Yeah.
Yikes!
And that's what we lived on.
And what was rent like then?
Huh?
What was rent? Or
don't remember. It must have been about $55.
Yikes! And kosher food.
And kosher, yeah, you managed.
You somehow managed. $55 a week.
Yeah.
Oof. Wow. Uh-huh.
And that wasn't bad.
Uh-huh.
You know.
And eventually Zeidy's business started getting more profitable.
The business, yeah.
Right. I guess you start off with like a loan. I guess so you gotta have something. You start off with something. I guess. You have a loan of some sort, or do you have a loan or something? Was there a concept of business loan?
I don't think so.
Because you gotta somehow have. I'm assuming you didn't come from England. Do you have any money?
Yeah, he did have some saved.
From
England?
Yes, he somehow made some money in England
with the tailoring.
Oh, that was like a paid.
He was an apprentice, and then he started working for him.
Got it. So he had some money saved up, and he used that to start the. Interesting, right? And he managed to stay steadfast, like not opening on Shabbos, even throughout the whole beginning year of that business. He managed to never have to go on Shabbos.
No, the business grew nicely.
That's good thing to keep in mind. So you started off in Newark because of that, right? Started off in Newark because of the business.
The business was in Newark.
And I saw you mentioned in your other interview that once you had that even when you were living in Newark, you still sent to Elizabeth, some of the kids to school in Elizabeth.
It was a better school.
Yeah, it was like a better school, like academically or from wise.
Academically, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But there were from schools in Newark.
Yeah.
There were.
Yeah.
Interesting, but academically it was.
Your father started off in Newark.
Okay.
In kindergarten, maybe even first grade. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. And then he eventually
Yeah.
switched him to
Yeah.
the.
We used to have carpool.
Mm-hmm.
No, not carpool. I wasn't driving yet. We used to pay a guy
to
to
take. Was he the only one?
Yeah, he used to do driving, you know.
Mm-hmm. Were there other boys who went from Newark to Elizabeth for school? Was he the only one?
I think he was the only one. I don't remember.
Really? Interesting. So what gave you that idea to even think about going to Elizabeth?
But we looked into it.
You looked into it somehow. Interesting. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. But from kite wise, there's some the Newark schools were just as Frum and everything.
I think so. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But Rabbi Tights had a higher. What should I say?
It's a handle on the.
It was well known at the
Right,
time.
Right, I hear that. Right. I guess that kind of led to you eventually once the riots happened in Newark. That kind of helped part of the reason why you eventually moved to Elizabeth. Was that
a lot of Newark people moved to Elizabeth?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I hear that.
Even though the boys in your father's class were not, there were very few Frum ones.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. And what shul? The ones in this class in Elizabeth?
In Elizabeth.
Really?
Yeah.
And were they part of any shul? Were they part of any shul, like a different Reform or conservative shul, or there was nothing?
I don't remember where they lived. Even, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Right. Did Elizabeth or Newark have Reform and conservative shuls?
Or yeah,
they did have.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But
yeah, Newark had a big one, but a well-known one. I mean, the rabbi was very well known.
Of the other shul.
He came from Germany.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Conservative.
But your shul, I guess, you were how do you the amount of Frum shuls versus not Frum shuls?
In Newark, a lot.
There were a lot of Frum?
Frum.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which was a problem.
Why?
Because the rabbis didn't get on.
That was part of the part of the downfall, I guess.
That was part of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And your shul that you went to in Newark, was that also you were part of a bigger shul or a smaller shul?
No, well, it was a boy. They called it boys' shul.
What does that mean?
Young, like Zeidy's age.
At the time, right? You were
young
married
Babi started it in a house. It wasn't really a shul building, in a house.
Interesting.
And it was called the Pomona Avenue Shul.
Okay. And did you eventually manage to move out of the house into a real shul, or
nope?
No,
never.
Mm-hmm. But they had did they have a ladies? Did they manage
to
have
a ladies and the men?
Ladies and the men, and a little stiebel type of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did they do kiddushes there afterwards? All there, or do they?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
By the time
it was a nice, all friends.
Right. If and Debbie was born when you were in Newark, so do you remember making a kiddush for her, or Abba's bris? Was that where Abba's bris or Aunt Debbie's kiddush? Let's say when she was born.
Abba's bris was in the hospital.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened?
What happened? I was in the hospital. And at that time, one stayed in the hospital, right?
You stayed at Shuls for longer, right?
Yeah.
I guess that was typical then. And Debbie's kiddush, was that in the shul?
Remember when Pomona Avenue already, when Debbie was born? Don't remember.
I remember. Interesting. And then I guess the one last, the overall question, what you from observing, I guess, the various evolution, I guess, of Frumkeit and Orthodox Judaism from Germany to England to America. Do you see major changes? Do you see major changes for the better or for the worse, or just do we look at it as more or less?
Well, definitely more right wing.
Definitely more, right?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, When I got married, and that was most of my friends, we didn't wear shekels.
Interesting.
Then I started wearing a shekel to shul.
Okay.
You know.
And how did that start even?
And then when Zeidy had his first open heart surgery,
Yeah.
Debbie was in seminary.
Yeah.
But she came home,
Right.
you know, for the surgery.
Right.
And she said to me, if everything goes well, will you make it tonight
Really?
to wear sheitel?
Interesting.
I said, okay.
Wow.
And then little by little, my friends
Also?
and I don't know what it was that, you know,
Interesting.
made people change.
Very interesting.
I think in our group of friends, there was only one person that wore sheitel since she got married.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who was that?
From Saffron.
Uh-huh. Interesting. I don't recognize the name.
She grew up in Williamsburg.
Okay. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense. What made you start before you started wearing on a regular basis, just wearing it to shul? How did that? Do you remember how that started?
Hmm?
Do you remember how it started that when you started wearing it to shul? Do you remember?
I don't know. But my friends in Washington Heights were wearing shekels.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Nothing that had a little to do with it.
The Dafka shul, I guess that was more of a thing.
Right.
Interesting.
Because you had to cover your hair anyway to go to shul.
I guess. But you're saying like before then, people would just cover their hair with like just a hat of some sort.
Went through with that.
Uh-huh. And did your mother or grandmother back then worship? They did like nothing. They did like a hat or nothing at all.
A hat.
A hat. Uh-huh. Because the whole sheitel, I guess, started as like a later thing.
Germany, very few people wore shekels.
Right. That's could be
And
more.
It was horsehair.
Right. It wasn't the quality we have now.
I think in the hostel there was only one family. There were two sisters. Their mother wore sheitel.
Mm-hmm.
Or covered her hair, you know.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess that's. Are there any other differences any other overarching differences that you noticed from those days to now? I guess you moved more to the right, but any other major differences that you've observed? I guess.
Hmm?
Any other major differences that you've observed from back then to now? The Shabbos, Yom Tif, or anything like that? Was it very different?
No, that always was, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
definitely the Jewish world changed to the right.
Uh-huh. I hear. Think it's too much, or think it in a good way?
Good way.
In a good way? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay. And is there anything else that you can think of that I missed? Anything else that you want to share?
Yesterday, believe me, Lampel happened to ask me, what made us send your father to Long Beach?
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. So
Yeah.
what made you send out to Long Beach?
We didn't like JC. That was out.
They had a high school?
They had a high school.
Okay.
But that was out. And Long Beach had opened not long before, and we heard good things about it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our friends had sent son there the year before.
Okay.
And we liked what we heard about it.
Interesting. And then when I wanted to stay, like post high school, like was there did you want him to go to college initially before
We wanted your father to go to college, but he didn't want.
Right. So how did that conversation go?
How? He said he wants to go on learning for now.
Right.
And if we are against it, he'll go and live in Long Beach.
Whoa. I see. Uh-huh.
So then I went to Rabbi Lozamer types.
Oh,
not
really?
the other type, you know.
Okay, Rabbi Pinchas Tais was already...
Because Lozamer was educated, he went to
college?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a degree, you know.
Okay.
And I told him, and he said, if your son wants to keep on learning, things will be okay, you'll see. Let him learn.
Very interesting. And you went to Rabbi Tyson.
Huh?
Zeidy, you went yourself? Or you and Zeidy went together?
I think I went myself.
Really? Interesting.
I think I went myself.
Yeah. Do you remember Zeidy's feelings on that? Was he, like...
No,
he also...
He probably told me to go, but he didn't have time, so...
he was busy with his business.
No.
Uh-huh. Interesting. No. So then Abba went on to...
So then, when he went to law school, I told him, and he said, you see, I wasn't right. I wasn't wrong.
Rabbi Tate said that. Who said that?
Lozamer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Very interesting. Uh-huh. And I guess in retrospect, I guess what do you think about it? I guess that was the right move, you think? In retrospect.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? You think that was the right move?
Yeah, I think he did well, Rabbi Tate.
Very tight, right? I think the calls he made were he knew how to advise.
Yeah,
and the advice was.
And it was good that we felt that this is what he advised.
Right. Once you had his advice,
right? Because he was an educated guy. You know, he was not.
Right. Interesting. Was there ever a point where Abba, where you ever considered Abba joining Zeidy in his business? Was that ever?
No,
never was.
No.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Do you know, like, why not? Like, is there any idea, like, why not? Like, why not? Or no?
No. Just never.
Never was. Never even a thing.
No.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. A lot of there's probably more things I'm forgetting, but if you have anything else that you think that you want to share, I'm more than happy to.
Okay, now maybe something else come
up.
Me.
Okay, let me know if you think of something.
To be on a very friendly basis with my other uncle and aunt.
The one in
the ones who were not from.
Yeah.
I don't know whether now
that would be it.
That would happen.
That would happen. Interesting. All right.
And I was very close to
them, and they were totally like on board. They were okay with you being from, even though they weren't
trying to. Yeah, they didn't try to.
Right.
No.
Right. And these days, that's like
these days you don't find I don't know whether that
relationship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I wonder, like that, like what could we do? Like we have to somehow. Do you think we have to change our mindsets a little bit to kind of be more?
And the two brothers, like the two uncles, were very close.
Even though one was from, one wasn't from. And these days, if you have sibling who
even in Germany. We were very close-knit family. Mm-hmm. And they are already in Germany.
Oh, it goes back to then that they weren't.
They weren't from.
Really? So it wasn't like because of the war?
No.
Uh-huh.
No.
Interesting.
So I'm thinking now, today, I don't know.
You don't have that so much.
No.
I hear that. There's more of a divide, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. I guess. I guess you were still close with Esther throughout all the years, right? I mean, even though the families kind of went their separate paths, but you managed to stay.
As the church in Israel.
That was really in Israel.
In Israel.
On the kibbutz, was it
no,
Slavi? No,
kibbutzos.
Frum, right.
Kibbutz is Frum, but
Right.
Frum.
Right. So do you know what
She
happened?
moved to Yerushalayim, and she got together with some friends, I guess, that were not Shomer Shabbos,
Mm-hmm.
and so it went.
Interesting.
I didn't know until she came to the States.
So when you met her in the States?
When she came to the States, I found out.
And like, were you like shocked?
Yes.
Especially like growing up in
Yes.
where you did. And did you ever like try to like explain yourself or
No.
no? Interesting. And her husband also.
Her husband came from a very assimilated family. The little Yiddishkeit that he had was from Hester.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So when you so when you met her back in America and she was her phone did you like try to turn her back or anything like that, or it wasn't
No. Maybe I did, but I realized it.
It wasn't it was like a Interesting. And it's definitely in Israel. She must have some friends like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yes, I guess that's definitely something to keep in mind. That right, that these days we have to try to be, I guess, more. Even if if we have family who's not necessarily on the same page as us, definitely we should probably try to be better, I guess, about staying in touch and being even being close with. It's there's no reason there's no reason why we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's more like that. It definitely is a lesson for those days. I hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I hear.
Maybe.
If your brother would have been alive, he could have helped.
He could have maybe persuaded her.
At that point already, he had passed away already. When she
No, but he didn't know about it the same as I didn't know about it.
Right. Who was he living when she was which was unusual?
He was still in England.
He was still in England. He also didn't.
No.
And then, did you like tell? Was he and then when Esther came to America and you found out, was he still alive then?
No.
No, at that point he wasn't.
No. She came to the States when all this was happening. She didn't even know about it. We couldn't reach her. She was traveling in Europe.
Wow.
We didn't know where.
Wow. So I guess your brother was also quote unquote very from whatever it meant back then. It was also like very from, I guess. He was in yeshiva.
Yeah.
Right. So he was also very very from. Interesting.
Yeah, like Chava.
Right.
Right.
Of course. Right.
Thank you.
And this torch was passed from father to son, and through the ages has always lived on. In the face of despair, confusion and doubt, the flame that defines us has never gone out.
The flame that defines us will never go out.
I know this. My mother sent me to Talmud Torah.